perspective, these food waste could actually feed nearly 2 billion people, and I wish a number that far surpassed the global population suffering from hunger today. But this issue of food waste extend beyond just loss of food. It compounds waste of resources, for example, like water, land, labor, and of course energy as well, as all of which contributes towards heavier carbon footprint. And in fact, excuse me, food waste is actually responsible roughly around 8 to 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions, and making a silent yet significant contributions towards climate change. And it is a call for action for every one of us here and those who are listening as well, whether we are chef, hospitality professionals, or manufacturing students, or everyday consumer. Each decision that we make, all right, from what we buy or what we use and dispose of food, play a role in either perpetuating or combating these particular crises that we are facing now. And in terms of food waste as well, it occurs at every stage of our food system, from production and processing and distribution and also consumption as well. And while large-scale solutions like better agriculture practices and smart supply chains are essential, individual and community level actions are equally crucial as well. So by recognizing food waste as a shared responsibility, we have the opportunity to redefine how we think about food, transforming it from a disposal community to a value resources. And every small action that we take, when we multiply across communities and industry, it actually create and also contribute towards significant change in terms of addressing food waste issues as well. And of course, as we dive into discussion today, let's not just focus on the problem, but also commit to being part of this particular solution. So let us now zoom into our main topic of today. Next slide, please. All right, before we move forward, let us zoom into and talk about what is sustainable food. So in regards to sustainable food, it has actually captured the attention of the community since the year of 1970s. That is mainly due to increasing of public awareness about environmental issues that has actually shown a great impact towards the global economy. And of course, a section of members of the society have actually realized the health of the planet and of the people as well are depending on the innovation that will save the environment for the sake of the present as well as the future generation as well. Next slide. All right, and for the more sustainable food is the root, the current liberal climate change of the time, and in the back of nature movements such as slow food movement and of course farm to fork movement, which such movement have stressed a vitality of integrity of food derived from natural agriculture system in the locality, which actually follow the season. And of course, the community or a group of society that following this lifestyle were aware of the necessity to protect the nature and the issue of animal welfare, which actually bring together the spark, the establishment of such progressive generation which have actually access to nutritious food. And the concept of sustainable food focus on minimize the environmental impact of agriculture and of course food production, while fostering ethical practices and supporting local economy. And of course, it is actually a holistic approach that involves reducing food waste, local and of course seasonal eating behavior, plant-based choices, and etc. as well. And the journey to sustainable food is actually a collective effort involving farmer, businessman, or entrepreneur, policymaker, and of course an individual level as well, and making informed choices such as supporting sustainable brand, consuming responsibility, and advocating for system change. We can actually help to create a food system that's not only nutritious, but it's also sustaining the planet for generation to come. And with that, sustainable food is not just a trend, it's actually necessity for a healthy world. All right, next slide. In layman term, and understanding as well, sustainable food can be elaborated as combination of these two, which is the healthy food and healthy planet. And in other words, the combination of these are will lead towards a healthy culinary ecosystem. So after this, we're going to explore and understand what is healthy culinary ecosystem is all about. All right, next. All right, now, in order for us to achieve healthy ecosystem or healthy culinary ecosystem, excuse me, we have to ask ourselves on this question: what are we eating all day long, and how all of this food has been produced, and where are these food come from? Is it from manufacturing or is it freshly cooked? And these are all these kind of food that we consume have health benefit that contribute towards our body when we consume. And upon be able to answer all these questions, then we will be able to achieve the healthy culinary ecosystem, and of course we will be able to enhance energy efficiency and of course food sustainability. All right, next. All right, so within this circle of this healthy culinary ecosystem, there are three important stakeholders that determine the success of and the effectiveness of the ecosystem. All right, the three main stakeholders are the chef or the owner of the food establishment, which responsible for planning, preparation, and also execution of the particular food, and followed by the supplier, which are responsible for reducing the carbon emissions and greenhouse effects towards the environment, and lastly, the client, which are the gatekeeper to ensure the success of the ecosystem. And these three stakeholders required to work together collaboratively and, of course, synergistically to play each of their role in order to ensure the effectiveness of this healthy culinary ecosystem. All right, next slide. Now, let us zoom into one by one of each respective stakeholder and see how each one of these stakeholder play their roles. All right, so now the first one, we're going to focus on the first stakeholder, which is the chef or the owner of the food establishment. All right, so their responsibility are very important, where they are to create a creative menu to attract customer to purchase a product which are actually healthy and locally sourced ingredients. For example, to producing fusion sort of menu or following the latest hipster trend, where this kind of thing will actually attract younger generation to purchase and also to consume these products, locally produced products. And this will actually therefore increase the level of acceptance towards sustainable food, and of course increase the desire to consume all these some sort of products. All right, and with that, it will actually increase the demand of the local source product, and directly will actually impact towards increase of the supply chain as well. All right, next slide. And of course, the second responsibility for this, the chef and the owner, is actually to maximize the usage of local and seasonal ingredient in their menu construction. As true, the usage local and also seasonal ingredient, this will actually reflect towards freshness and also showcase the level of food quality to the customer. And furthermore, it will actually reduce the carbon emission through to supplier transportation, as through using imported ingredients in the menu of cooking. It will actually increase the effect of food miles, as each miles that they take to transport your ingredient, right, regardless what sort of transportation, for example, cars, aeroplanes, cargos, or ship travel, to deliver your ingredients from one country to another, means that it will increase the carbon footprints and increase the amount of energy such as fuel throughout all the process of transporting your food ingredient. Right. For example, if you can see in this photo illustrated in the slide here, we have several ingredients that they are very authentic and seasonal, which is really relevant to Sarawak. All right. First, of course, like we can see here, wild ferns or midin. All right. A great example for salad or stir frying has similar texture to asparagus. It might be some game changer where this kind of thing could be introduced internationally, and that this kind of vegetable is actually have some similar characteristic asparagus. It could be replaced if they are in Asia, something like that. And of course, durian as well, king of fruits. We can make a lot of things from durian. We can be innovative. I think a lot of you have tried durian cheesecake or mousse out of these particular fruits. And of course, this is actually to build the sense of curiosity and also interest for international people when they come over to our place. Instead of introducing their own food, why not we introduce our food in order for us to reduce the food miles throughout this process. And of course, we have terong dayak, or known as a sour eggplant, a suitable ingredient for fish soup, or puree it up just to make a sauce for any of our seafood. And of course, dabai, our Borneo black olive, is actually a very creamy and nutty flavor profile, which provide with a suitable replacement for a snack, for a salad, or even transform it into sweet and salty kind of dabai mousse as well. All right. So as a chef, we should not limit our creativity to know to what we know and see as well, and of course what we have learned. But we have to be much more experiential, and of course we have to experimental to develop a menu which provide essential benefits for the ecosystem, and of course to earn more money, right? Of course, money and is very important in the business, through selling all these products as well. Because if you locally source your ingredient, your food cost will reduce, but in a way you'll be able to contribute to the Hearty culinary ecosystem. All right, next slides. And to move forward, another responsibility for chef and owner as one of the stakeholders is actually to focus on the practical and also simplify the cooking and preparation technique, in which take into account of energy efficiency and also sustainable food. In the aspect of food, chefs are required to minimize the wastage in order to maximize food yield and also food revenue. And in the scope of energy, the chef is required to minimize the usage of energy consumption upon preparing food, such as water, electricity, and also gas as well. So, next slides. So, in terms of food, it is important for chef to be able to think creatively, thinking also outside of the box to maximize the capacity of each ingredient usage. For example, rather than discarding vegetable trimmings or waste, all right, or meat trimmings and bone, we can actually transform all these trimmings into stock, where we can stock like a broth that we boil, and of course this one could be transformed into a sauce for any of our dish. And as a chef as well, it is important to minimize the amount of waste trimming and to maximize the food yield. And this will definitely require constant training for a chef or for those who handle food. In order to achieve such skill, guided learning had to be taught through, so that they will be able to, for example, trim the meat from the bone and so on, so that we leave a lesser amount of meat on the bone, so that we can actually maximize the food yield. And of course, proper storing to prevent spoilage as well. All right, this is very common, especially in hotels or any F&B outlet. Sometimes they don't really look into this, but this is a small action that we can take in order for us to prevent spoilage, in which contributes toward food waste. But if we really take care of our food storing, especially when we arrange our ingredients, vegetables in the chiller and so on, we have to really know the terms called FIFO, first in, first out. That is very important. And if we're really taking care of our storing and also how we store our meats, our vegetables, and any other product, we will actually eventually be able to reduce food waste, and of course to prevent any incurred of cost of preparing or sustaining a business. All right, and of course use food, and of course to reduce wastages, a chef have to actually create a creative menu cycle to reduce the amount of wastage to occur. For example, if we have leftover curry, what we can do is actually we can transform this curry into curry pie, where we heat it up, put a little bit more potatoes and so on. Then we can put puff pastry and bake it up. And this is actually some sort of innovation or creative way of thinking on how to recycle and so reuse whatever leftover, in order for us to be able to sell the product rather than goes to waste. And of course, another ideas is actually through converting vegetable trimming to cream vegetable soup, roasted lamb of leftover, we can transform that into lamb ragu pasta, or cooked rice, we can transform into porridge, stir-fried cauliflower to gratinate cauliflower, baked chicken to chicken sliding burgers, or roasted vegetable, we can convert it into assorted vegetable salad. All right. So this is all the things that a chef have to do in order for us to ensure food sustainability are put as priority. And this will actually contribute towards our ecosystem and of course our environment as well. All right, next slide. All right, in an aspect of energy, all right, as a chef, it is important to be sensible and so practical in cooking to minimize the usage of energy. For example, in order for us to reduce energy consumption, what we could do is actually to defrost, for example, defrost any frozen item in the chiller rather than under running water, because if it is under running water, you have to use a lot of water to defrost a single item. But if you do a proper planning, you can put your frozen item into the chiller, let it slowly defrost, and the next day you can use it. So without wasting any energy. And another thing is actually to avoid opening of the oven door very frequently upon usage, because you see, if if you are baking, you have the eagerness or curiosity that you want to keep on peeping on your product. You can then open the oven to check and so on. But if you do this, it will actually consume a lot of energy, because once you open up your oven, temperature will drop, and what happens is that it requires energy to heat up the oven back. So with this kind of thing happening, you will use a lot of energy and you will actually waste a lot of energy. And by trusting the process, all right, of baking and so on, because you know approximately how long you're going to cook, perhaps 30 minutes, then perhaps around 30 minutes, then you can open once, but not every single 10-minute interval you're going to have to open the oven. Right, with this, we'll actually be able to reduce the usage of electricity to heat up the oven, right? And of course, it is best nowadays because we have a lot of technology equipment that we can use in the kitchen appliances as well. For example, like microwave, we can use this to heat up our item rather than using gas, because let's say if you heat up using microwave, you only take 5 seconds. And if you use a gas, for example, heat up a soup or something like that, it will take approximately around 5 to 10 minutes, in which you will consume a lot of gas consumption. And of course, other part is actually cooking by batch, cutting a small item smaller for quicker cooking process, in which reduce the amount of cooking time, where we can reduce the amount of gas usage for cooking process. And as a chef as well and fellow cooks, it's important to take notes all of these points, as it is very, very vital in order for us to be able to contribute towards a healthy culinary ecosystem, which leads towards sustainable ecosystem and food as well. And furthermore, as a chef, they hold a very unique and also influential position in food ecosystem. And as a creator, educator, and decision maker, their action in the kitchen can actually significantly impact sustainable and also food waste reduction as well. And the chef inspired change beyond the kitchen. And of course, as a tastemaker and also influencer, they can actually shape how food is perceived and also value as well and consumed within the society. And of course, by leading this sustainability, chef can actually set a trend that ripple through supply chain, restaurants, and home, and ultimately contributes to a healthier planet and actually more equitable food system in the whole. And in sense, chefs are not just a cook; they are the change maker, and their commitment to supply sustainable food and also reduce food waste can actually help to define the food of the future, or one plate at a time. There's a step-to-step process as well. All right, next slide. Now, let's go towards our second stakeholder, which is the supplier. They are also one of the most important contributor towards healthy culinary ecosystem. And to achieve healthy culinary ecosystem, it is important for the respective supplier to support the local farmer to purchase their product, which emphasize on ingredient freshness and also showcase its quality as well. And to build a positive rapport between supplier and local farmer, fair trade drill are required in order to establish, in which will be actually provide some sort of win-win scenario to both parties through offering a good price and also a good product. And with this sort of engagement has been established, then this will surely will increase the community living status. All right. So next is in regards towards reduce of plastic usage. Supplier actually are recommended to implement basket system upon delivering clients' products or goods that has been ordered. And of course, basket system simply means that to use boxes or a basket for store all the ingredients that has been ordered, which is straight away from the farm, rather than putting everything in a plastic bags and so on. And this is actually will reduce the amount of carbon footprint, and of course it will reduce the amount of plastic that has been used. All right. And as a supplier as well, it is important to reduce the amount of selling or promoting imported ingredients. All right. So as a majority of product has been used a lot of fancy kind of packaging, mainly to attract us a buyer. All right, because that's the reason why the design are very attractive, right? Cover of vegetables, they have a stickers, they have a plastic, just to make it much more appealing. All right. So however, towards at the end of the day, this plastic will not be able to be used, but instead it will be discarded. All right. So hence it is better to reduce the amount of plastic usage, just for the sake of sustainability of the environment. That is very, very important. Right. And in addition as well, through supporting local based products, especially from local farmer, this will actually reduce carbon footprint. It will reduce the carbon footprint that had been mentioned earlier on, and where less energy will be used to transport one ingredient to client, because it cut down a lot of hierarchy of transportation. If you order for imported, you have to through cargo or through shipping or through flight, but now it just one sort of transportation mode in order for this supplier to deliver to your place. All right. All right. And of course, as a supplier, they are the gatekeeper to what enter to the market. And of course, supplier have a responsibility to shape a food system that is environmentally, socially, and also economically sustainable. And of course, by prioritizing sustainable food and addressing food waste, supplier not only protect nature resources, but also contribute to adequate and also resilient food network. And together with producer, chef, businessman, or businesses or consumer, supplier actually hold a power to create a food system that feed the world while protecting the planet for future generation. All right, next slide. Now, lastly, one of the most important stakeholder for Hearty Culinary ecosystem is actually the client, right? The most important stakeholder is actually, as I mentioned, is the client, which actually receive whatever are the end product. They are the decision maker that determine the success of this particular movement. So if majority of the community accept such movement, all right, this will actually increase the demand for healthy and also sustainable food, where with this, it actually leads towards the possibility of achieving the hearty culinary ecosystem in the long run. So in a nutshell, clients and end user, whether consume in household, dine at the restaurant, or buying at any supermarkets and so on, play a very vital role in driving sustainability and minimizing food waste. And their choice actually, and also their behavior influence the entire food supply chain from production to disposal as well. So every small actions taken by end user can actually ripple across the food system, influencing production, distribution, and of course, business practices as well. And by aligning their choices with sustainable values and adopting waste-conscious kind of habits, client and end user will eventually contribute to reducing greenhouse emissions from landfill, right? So help conservation of nature resources like water, energy is very, very important as well. And of course, foster a culture of sustainability that encourage business and policymakers to follow suit. All right. And of course, together, end user or the clients hold the power to shape the future where food is valued. And of course, the resources are preserved. And of course, waste of food is actually minimized, and for the benefit of both the people, which is us, and also our mother nature, which is our planet. All right, next. Now, let us see how and also understand what are the benefits of healthy culinary ecosystem. All right. So, first benefit that we can get is actually from this sort of ecosystem is towards reducing the impact of food waste. All right. Serious environmental impact can be caused by disposal of excessive food waste, right? Which contributes to a landfill impacted of our flora and fauna around us, surrounding us. Inclinations impact of air quality, waste create more waste of energy. All right, so we're going to give you a bit example about what is food waste in Malaysia. The overview of the next slide. All right, for this scenario, for this case, let us look into the impact of food waste in Malaysia context. All right, so Malaysia solid waste content a very high organic waste and constantly high moisture content and bulk density in above 200 kilogram per meter square feet. And of course, a recent study conducted in Kuala Lumpur have revealed that amount of organic waste for residential area are from 62 to 72%, which is very high. And of course, disposal of solid waste is done almost solely through landfill methods, where they throw at the land and of course stack it up until it's slowly degraded and whatever not. There are about 177 disposal sites in Peninsular Malaysia itself. And most cases, open dumping is being practices and take place about 50% of the total landfill, in which this is not healthy practice of for our mother nature. All right. So through responsible stakeholder, food waste may be prevented and also reduced for the benefit of our harmony ecosystem, which is our environment and us as a whole. Furthermore, at the end of the day, we as a client or end user have the power to decide on each of our actions. Either if we are chef, we have to take action to maximize our raw ingredients to the max. As a consumer, we could be sensible in terms of our purchasing, avoid overbuying, in which at the end of the day it end up in our garbage bag as well. And of course, client and user as well, whether consuming in household, diners and restaurants or buyer, to play a very vital role in driving sustainability and of course to minimize food waste. And their choice and behavior influence the entire food supply chain from production and also disposal. For instance, as the end user or client, we can mitigate this by planning our meal and shopping mindful through buying only what we need to prevent over purchase ingredient. For example, for us, this is just an example. If we go to let's say Pasar Malam and so on, and you're feeling very hungry, you tend to be purchase a lot of food because that is what you want. But at the end of the day, you will not be able to consume all this food because we have only a small size of stomach, right? So we tend to be influenced by what we want rather than what the environment want. And of course, we have to look into proper storage where one have to learn how to store fruits, vegetables, and perishable to extend their shelf life to prevent food waste as well, especially for the hoteliers, the F&B operators. And the other part is actually what we can do is actually creative cooking. For example, using leftover or scrap to create new meals such as soup, smoothies, or stew, something like that. There's a lot more creative method. It's just that we have to create this awareness so that people and our community will be able to know how to recycle or transform their leftover food into something that are succulent and also scrumptious as well. And we can also look into composting, where we can turn food scrap into compost to enrich soil rather than just contributing towards the landfill. Right. So these are the few things that we as a clients or we as an end user or we as a community could do in order for us to reduce the effect of this landfill. And hence, through all this collective effort, food waste could be then be addressed and the quality of life could also be improved in the future generation. All right, next slide. Next benefits is in regards to a sustainable economy ecosystem. Through this sort of ecosystem, it will definitely give back towards the nature where you provide a healthy and also greener environment. All right. Through such act, it will actually lead towards reduction of pollution such as water, air, land, and also noise pollution, which in the end of the day, it will actually reduce the greenhouse effect impact. And with the reduction of such pollution, will actually preserve the beauty of our flora and fauna, and of course, leads towards the main objective, which is through sustainable food resources to all community level. All right, next slide. And next benefit is in regards to healthy food produce. Through creative food creation based on local and also seasonal ingredient, it will actually boost the health status of respective community, and in which it will aid to reduce the rate of obesity, especially in the current scenario where a lot of our community nowadays in the city area are facing obesity issues, and it will also increase the community productivity due to a hearty, healthy lifestyle, and of course, reduce the rate of malnutrition of all level of community as well. All right, next slide. All right, so with that, it have come to my end of my presentation of Hearty Culinary Ecosystem, and I hope my sharing is actually beneficial for all of you. And with that, let us play our own role or to actually to mitigate and fight against food waste for the benefit of the present and also future generations. So with that, thank you once again and have a pleasant day, everyone. Thank you.
All right, thank you for the presentation. We'll now have a short Q&A session. So if any question, you can feel free to type into the chat. But while waiting for more questions to come in, maybe I can ask one to our speaker on how can culinary professionals and food business owners strike a balance between sustainability and maintaining cost effectiveness in their operations, as mentioned earlier on the cost. Yeah.
So both chef and also business individual have to work together. They have to understand, yeah, sometimes you want quality food, you will not want to use trimming and so on. That kind of mindset have to be put aside. As a chef, we have to really convince the owner, right? Of course, owner want quality, but as a chef, you have to know how to maximize the usage of each ingredient rather than putting it in waste. As I mentioned, as a chef, you have to think creatively on how to develop a food out of food, leftover food that you can transform. For example, I give you a very simple example what we do or what I have done as well. For example, if I have beef bolognese sauce or gravy, what I do is actually I mix it up with a little bit of potatoes and so on. Then I'm gonna put in a cup. Then I put my puff pastry in, and I bake it up. It's something like a pie. And with this kind of thing, I'll be able to sell around 15 to 20 ringgit. Rather than putting a waste, I transform something that is leftover to something that I can be able to sell again at a higher profit margin. With this is reduce your food waste, and you can increase your revenue in terms of your restaurant operation and so on. Yeah.
Okay, great. So, okay. If there's no question, then I'll go with another one. Because just now we mentioned on local ingredients, right? It's a key component for sustainable culinary ecosystem. So maybe what are some of the challenges and opportunities in promoting the use of locally sourced ingredients within the industry?
Right. Of course, the challenges is our fruits nowadays are very seasonal. It's very difficult to find, for example, like dabai or durian. It's very difficult to get this supply throughout the whole year. But of course, there's a lot of opportunity coming up because let's say our agriculture departments, they have actually found a way how to preserve dabai, where they've frozen the dabai. So in which you'll be able to have a sustainable supply of dabai throughout the whole year. All right. But this kind of things, with this kind of thing available, we'll actually be able to promote dabai locally, so that people we were able to think that I can use dabai for a lot of things. For example, dabai mousse, this kind of thing, and your kind of knowledge as well. Myself, we have actually presented and also created this mousse, dabai mousse, salted dabai caramel mousse, and we have won, I think, silver or bronze medal for this dish, in which that it is acceptable if we know how to create and also balance the taste and so on, and this actually creates some sort of awareness about what is dabai, and we're able to introduce to it internationally. So this is how you utilize our local products in order for us to reduce the carbon footprints, rather than using imported products from international. We can just use whatever we are local for us to reduce the carbon footprints. Yeah.
All right. So I think another one is, how can the food industry better educate and engage customers to make more sustainable choices? Yeah, I think it's one
this,
part. Yes.
this is
Awareness.
yeah. It's all come from awareness. I think respective stakeholders have to come together to create this awareness. Because without awareness, people does not really even bother what is going on. They don't even bother what is sustainable food. There have to be some sort of a platform for all these stakeholders to come together, and to promote and to tell the community what are the benefit of this kind of action they've been taking, for example, through conducting classes, all right, free classes, culinary classes, or talks by influencer, in which at the end of the day, it will make people interest and also viral this thing up, so that people will take up these ideas, and of course, moving forwards, and also to execute whatever they are doing in order to contribute towards the culinary ecosystem. Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, just one last question, I think, for everyone. Let's say for those of us who are all preparing food at home, any tips on increasing the shelf life, as mentioned earlier? Any tips for us?
Any tips too?
Increase our shelf life for the food.
All right.
Home
So
tips.
of course, to increase the shelf life is actually, for example, for me, whatever leftover food that I do, for example, beef bolognese. I like to eat beef bolognese so much. I like to eat pasta as well. So I always have stock of beef bolognese. So what I do is actually I cook in one portion after an event or so on. I will store this and I will put in the freezer. But what I do is actually, instead of putting in one big bulk of container or something like that, I usually tend to separate it up into smaller portion, so that I only consume what I need, rather than you take out, you defrost, you take out, it will not last longer. So apart from that as well, in order to increase your shelf life, is actually choose your vegetable wisely, and of course to store your vegetable wisely, because a lot of people, after you purchase all your ingredients, you just dump it in your freezer or your chiller, and for example, if you buy cucumber and tomatoes on, you stack everything up. So when you stack everything up, it will definitely rot faster. So you have to know how to store and also arrange your things properly, especially in your refrigerator. Yep.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. I think if there are not any further questions, maybe we can all have a quick group photo. So if everyone could turn on their cameras, that I can just screenshot a very quick one. Give everyone some time. Okay. Any more? All right. I'll let everyone turn on first. Okay. I think no more, right? So I'll just count 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. All right. So I'll also share about our next session. For our next session, we'll have Associate Professor T.S. Norazia from UNIMAS, who will be presenting on sustainable leadership. She's also the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Industry, Community Engagement and Sustainability. So this will be happening next week. And also, please take a moment to fill out the feedback form, which has been shared in the chat. So if there's no more further questions or discussions, again, thank you very much to Assistant Prof. Christopher for today, all of our participants and our supporting partners. So happy weekend. And for those of you who are celebrating Chinese New Year, happy Chinese New Year. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.